Hey guys, welcome back. And today we've got a very special guest with us as Garrett from Football Analysis is joining us for a one-round mock draft. No trades in this one, but this is the third year in a row that we have been able to do this, and I'm super excited to have him on. How are you doing today, Garrett?
I'm doing good. Appreciate you having me on. And as the old saying goes, third time's the charm.
Yeah, absolutely. We talked off camera. He's going to take the odds. I will take the evens, and then I'll give him the Vikings pick as the resident Vikings fan here. So don't want to waste any more time. Leave a like. I'll leave all of his stuff linked down in the description. But let's go ahead and kick this off. You've got the Tennessee Titans at number one overall.
Yeah, so I think this pick right now is pretty simple. They didn't go after Aaron Rodgers in free agency or Russ or anybody, and not that Russ would have necessarily changed the decision that much, but I think the pick at this point should be Cam Ward. I think it will be Cam Ward, and I would be extremely shocked, like once in a 5 or 10 year span, if it's not Cam Ward at this point. I think that all of the betting lines, if you will, should just be like like 10,000, maybe not 10,000, but you get the point. Just very much Cam Ward. Just move on to the next pick. It should just Let's just move on. Cam Ward from Miami is the selection. There was a photo of Brian Callahan and Cam Ward at Miami's pro day. They look to be chumming it up, and the Titans need a quarterback in the worst way. So Cam Ward's a selection.
Yeah, I think that one is, like you said, pretty much a foregone conclusion at this point. I think the draft really starts at two. And it seems like the Shedeur Sanders hype train is starting to really fall off. I don't have a first round grade on him. I'm not. Do you have a first round grade on Shedeur Sanders?
I do not. I'm around mid two. I like Shedeur for what he is, but to select him at number two overall is rich. So mid two for me, but again, number two overall it's rich.
Yeah, and I'm there as well. The Browns do obviously need a quarterback, but they pick at 33. I think you can get some good value there. This is a pick that I've made a bunch, even after the Myles Garrett extension. I still like Abdul Carter as the pick for this team. I think having a pass rush duo of Abdul Carter and Myles Garrett would be phenomenal. Carter didn't end up testing at his pro day, but an absolute freak athlete who can defend the run really well. He is a dynamic pass rusher with speed, power, so many different finesse moves. If you pair him alongside Myles Garrett, you could have one of the best pass rush duos in the NFL for the next 4 to 5 seasons. So I'm going to take Abdul Carter here. It seems, I think Adam Schefter was saying that Cleveland was leaning Abdul Carter. So that's going to be my selection there at number two.
Yeah, Abdul is, I mean, he's a freak. He's, to me, he's the best player in the draft. He's just, for his first season at true edge, because he was off ball prior to the 2024 season, he played phenomenal. It wasn't like banking on upside either. I mean, it was every game, really, aside from the West Virginia game. And even then, there were a couple of pressures in that game, but that was in week one. But from every week on, especially in the final game that he had as a Penn State Nittany Lion, I mean, he was playing with one arm and he still basically took that game over. He just turned 21 years old. This is not a 24-year-old prospect. And like you said, pair him alongside Myles Garrett. I love the fit. But I said Abdul Carter was my best player in the class. My second best player in the class is Travis Hunter. And the Giants, with the signings of both Jameis and Russ, I mean, neither quarterback moves me to the point where I think that, hey, they're going to go from the number 3 pick to, winning a playoff game this year. But I would be surprised if they would bring both of those guys in and then proceed to take Shedeur Sanders. So I think at this point, with it all but announced that Cam Ward is going to be the number 1 pick, I really think that they are going to take one of either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter, whichever one falls into their lap. And in this mock, Travis Hunter falls right into their lap. So I think Travis Hunter would be the 3rd pick in the draft.
My question for you in this scenario, obviously the Giants did a pretty good job of loading up the secondary in free agency. Do you think they view Travis as more of a wide receiver or as a corner in this offense, or on this team, I should say?
The thing is that's such a good question. I think with the Giants specifically, I feel like it would be receiver. And like you mentioned, they brought in Paulson Adebo, they brought in Javon Holland, and not that Javon Holland would eliminate the idea of Travis Hunter being a corner by any means, because obviously he's a safety. But no, I mean, I think the Giants are at a point where they have had such woeful offenses over the past couple of years, whether it was, the Tommy DeVito in 2023 was fun for a couple of games, but then he played like an undrafted rookie, and then he took over at a point during 2024 as well, and that didn't work out. And Daniel Jones obviously didn't work out, and Drew Lock had one game against the Colts, which unfortunately cost them the number 1 pick. But I think at this point they're pretty much like, hey, we are just, Hail Mary. We need whatever we can to bring offense in and to have a running back in Tyrone Tracy, and then, two young players in Malik Neighbors and Travis Hunter, to have those guys to be able to be the playmakers in the offense, whatever they can to actually put points on the board consistently this year. So I think he'd be a receiver for the Giants.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. And a wide receiver duo of Travis Hunter and Malik Neighbors would just be absolutely incredible. Got the Patriots here at number 4. Another team that had a phenomenal free agency period, bringing in so much help. Milton Williams, Robert Spillane, Carlton Davis, all along the defense. This pick is one of the toughest picks of the entire draft for me because I could see them going a number of ways. I still have Ted McMillan as the number 1 receiver in this class. I think Ashton Genty's floor is here, or his ceiling, I could see him going as high as number 4. I am going to go with Will Campbell, though. I think we're getting prospect fatigue with him. I think he's the best offensive lineman in the draft, in my opinion. And I guess at his pro day, he tested with 33-inch arms. The testing numbers have been all over the place this draft cycle, but his athleticism is phenomenal. He can run block, great at countering pass rush moves with his hands. And I think he is the best offensive lineman. You've got to be able to protect your best asset, and that is Drake May. And I think Will Campbell gives them the opportunity to do that. Whether he is a tackle, which I tend to view him as, or if you kick him inside, I'm going to take Will Campbell here at number 4.
So I like the pick. In my mock drafts, I've taken Will Campbell a couple of times to the Patriots. Patriots fans, I'm eager to see how they feel about this one, because I feel like it's down the middle where there will be basically people saying Stephon Diggs is going to be 32. He needs more help than just him and Kayshon Boutte and Pop Douglas and everybody else, all the other receivers they have. And I'm eager to see how Patriots fans respond to that selection. But I like the pick. Obviously, their left side of the offensive line right now is Vidarian Lowe, Layden Robinson, and then Garrett Bradbury. And I'm unfortunately here to tell you that Bradbury is not good at center. I wish him the best. I truly do. But he got released for a reason. That wasn't an accidental, mistype on the facts report, if you will. So I like the pick, but that's just me. I really like the pick for the Patriots. Now, with the Jags here, they're in an interesting situation because you can tell me, hey, Mason Graham would make a lot of sense. Honestly, you could tell me Tyler Warren would make a lot of sense to have BTJ and Tyler Warren on the same offense, and I would really like that, especially with first year Liam Cohen, and then you could have Trevor get another weapon, because Trevor's in a really, really pivotal point in his career. And you could also say that, hey, we need to be able to put up points to be able to ever compete with the big dogs in the conference, if you will, and even the Texans in your own division for that matter, who have back-to-back division titles. But where I'm going to go with this one is I'm going to go under the belief that we're going to have Josh Hines-Allen, Trayvon Walker, and Mason Graham along the defensive line. And they have Tyson Campbell, who I think is an underrated player. I like him a lot. They brought in Jordan Lewis in free agency as well. They would be bringing in a really good player in Mason Graham. And, if the Chiefs have proven anything over the past couple of years, if you can simply stop teams or eliminate them from putting up points, the Eagles game, of course, is a bit of an exception. But if you can simply keep teams off the board, you can win 10, 11, 12 games almost by default by holding them to under 20 points a game. So Mason Graham to me would be the pick. And that would be a really tough just pass rush to consistently defend for 4 quarters.
Yeah, I think this is my favorite fit for the Jags. And they've got Arik Armstead already there, and now you've got a duo of Mason Graham and Armstead with those pass rushers off the edge. I think this would be awesome, and I would hate it as a Colts fan. On the board here at number 6 for the Raiders, Ashton Genty is becoming a very popular pick here, and I think it probably makes the most sense for them. You need a running back that can consistently give you snaps. Their running back room with Sincere McCormick and Zamir White last year was completely up and down. I am going to take Ashton Genty here. I think he is on that tier of a prospect as Abdul Carter and Travis Hunter. I think he's right there. He slips just because of positional value, but in my opinion, he's the best running back I've evaluated in the few years that I've done this, the contact balance. I think something that gets lost is he is a phenomenal receiving back that just wasn't asked to do it this past year for Boise State. The Raiders need some more help in that backfield. I'm going to take Ashton Genty for them at number 6.
I love the pick. And the reality is I know they took Brock Bowers last year, but I mean, I want to kind of like slow my words here because this could easily just be clipped. But anytime there's a player like Brock Bowers, like Ashton Genty, who are future all-pro potential, and if multiple all-time pro potential, and I was gonna say the HOF 3 words. I was gonna say that like potential. Obviously, they're not there. Obviously, Brock Bowers isn't there after 1 year. That was the part that would have got clipped. But anytime you could take players that are elite at their position, like an Ashton Genty, like a Brock Bowers, and you bring in a guy that can distribute the football and play a high efficiency role, point guard essentially, in Geno Smith. Look, I'm all for it. I mean, you are in a division where you have to be able to put up points. So I would never push back, and I really like the landing spot for Ashton Genty there. Now, with the Jets up, there's really 3 players I'm looking at. I'm looking at Tet McMillan, Tyler Warren, and Armand Membu. I think you can reasonably justify all of them, especially Armand Membu to effectively complete the offensive line, and especially because you are fielding a quarterback this year, no pun intended with the field and then Justin Fields, but you're fielding a quarterback in Justin Fields who struggles to progress through his reads on a consistent level. I mean, there's times where he is a starer, and there's times where he doesn't get to his second read until 2.75 seconds into the play, and that's not good. That's unfortunately something that has, been with him throughout the entire course of his career. So Tyler Warren, obviously elite prospect. Tetero McMillan, not elite, but a great prospect. Armand Membu is where I'm going to go with this selection because you can never have enough trench play, and I really do think Armand Membu I think he's a Pro Bowl level player. He does a really good job mirroring. He is a really both agile and powerful player, and his anchor is sturdy, and I have a hard time finding flaws in his game, and I really think that he is a top 6 or 7 player in this class, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if he's a 3 or 4 time Pro Bowler when it's all said and done. And the fact that you can complete the offensive line while still having multiple players on the rookie scale contract, we talk about in terms of franchise building, in terms of having guys on discounts, and look at Olu Fashanu at the left tackle, Joe Tippmann, both on rookie scale contracts, and then Armand Membu. That is when you can go out and sign other players in free agency. Now the Jets are in a bit of a situation with the Aaron Rodgers and the Devontae Adams and all that. But the point is, you have players at premier positions on discounts, on rookie scale contracts. Take Armand Membu and complete the offensive line and reap the benefits. I love the fit of Armand Membu with the Big Apple.
Yeah, I got to give you credit on this because I had watched Membu over the summer, and I kind of just had him lower on my board. And you kept tweeting about him in January, and I went back and watched him, and the guy is incredible, and I think he's a perfect fit for the Jets here at 7. And we know Aaron Glenn wants to run the football with his athleticism. I think he's a great fit for the Jets. At pick 8 here for the Panthers, again, number of different ways that they can go. You could go Tet McMillan because Adam Thielen, I believe, has got 1 year left on his deal. He's 34 years old, probably not going to be playing forever. You've got Mike Green on the board, who I tend to take here quite a bit. I just love his game, and I think he would be a perfect fit for this Panthers defense. Or you could go Tyler Warren. I know you were able to bring back Tommy Tremble, but I think you could upgrade that tight end spot. A lot of different options here. I'm going to go somewhere I haven't gone, and I'm going to take Tet McMillan. I haven't gone receiver for them very often. Now, I was a big Xavier Legette guy last year. He had a solid rookie season. It wasn't anything phenomenal. And you got a good play from Jalen Coker, but I think Tet McMillan could kind of complete this young receiver trio. Bryce Young really turned it on the second half of the year. It just continued to add weapons around him. So I'm going to take Tetero McMillan here at 8 to the Carolina Panthers.
I like it. I really like it. And that's to be honest, that's where I was hoping you would go with this. Just because, I mean, you have Tet and hopefully Xavier Legette works out. That'd be a really good, at least building block, at least hopefully it's a foundation that we can build around for this football team. Now with the Saints up, no Ashton Genty. Otherwise, I would strongly consider going Ashton Genty here. I would actually love that fit for the Saints. The receiving, I was going to say receiving play, kind of got stuck there between receivers and receiving play. But anyway, the receivers on this team are not great either. So in an ideal world, I would like to trade down. The problem is I don't know who would actually like trade up in this spot. But the thing is we're going to have to make a pick here. And where I'm looking at is I'm looking at edge, obviously with Cam Jordan getting up there. And I know they have Carl Granderson and they just brought back Chase Young. I would like edge or defensive line here. The thing is Kenneth Grant at number 9 is a little rich. I also wouldn't mind Jahdae Barron, especially given that they lost Paulson Adebo and Marshawn Lattimore over the past 6-7 months because they traded Lattimore to the Commanders. And now that I think about this out loud, I think, where do you stand on this? Because I'm thinking Jahdae Barron or I'm thinking Shamar Stewart, but I'm curious as to where you stand on this.
I would take Jahdae Barron here just because, like you said, you lost Lattimore, you lost Adebo. The secondary is kind of a mess right now, and I think Barron just gives you versatility to play pretty much anywhere in that defensive backfield right away.
I'm gonna go and take Jahdae Barron then. I like the floor of the player, and the Saints are in a position where a lot of teams are in this position, by the way, not just the Saints, but just take a good football player. Don't overthink it. So it was Jahdae Barron or Shamar Stewart, and the Shamar Stewart would be to effectively replace Cam Jordan, who is 35, 36 at this point. He's coming back, but he's obviously on the final year or two of his career. So that would have been the backup, but I'm going to go Jahdae Barron.
Yeah, I love that pick. At number 10 here for the Bears, this is a tough one because the Bears, they brought in Dio Odengbo to help their defensive end room. They brought in Grady Jarrett. They improved the floor of this defensive line. I think you could get better. I mentioned I love Mike Green. This is a fit that I really, really like here. I've taken Tyler Warren to them in the past because I think we know how much this offense, Ben Johnson's offense, utilizes the tight end. I think Tyler Warren would be incredible for them. I like Malachi Starks here. It might be early, but I think they could upgrade. They've just got a lot of different ways that they can go with this. But I am going to go with Mike Green, I think, just adding some more speed off the edge opposite of Montez Sweat. He's got phenomenal bend. He really improved as a run defender in 2024, and he just does so many different things that you look for in an edge rusher. There is some character concerns off the field stuff, but it was, I believe, in 2021, he addressed it at the Combine. It doesn't stray me away from the prospect. I'm going to take Mike Green here at number 10 to the Bears.
I like it. I like Mike Green a lot. Just pair him with Montez Sweat, and that's really good edge. It's a really good edge. Then you have Gervon Dexter in the middle. Hopefully Tyler Booker develops a little bit. He was a 5th-round pick last year, or Austin Booker, rather. Tyler Booker's in this draft class. Apologies. But anyway, hopefully Austin Booker develops a little bit and then go from there. So I like the depth. I love the selection. Now with the 49ers on the clock, this is a really tricky situation, or a really tricky team to pick for, because you can justify a lot of players here. You can justify Will Johnson. You could justify Kenneth Grant. Josh Simmons, to me, would make a lot of sense, especially with Trent Williams aging. And the reality is there, and I'm actually going to do a little spoiler here. I'm going to do a video this week talking about why the 2025 draft is just that important for the 49ers, because they can't afford to miss this year, because they're about to pay Brock Purdy, and they're in a position where they're going to turn over the roster. So really any position to me makes a lot of sense here. And I am going to go for the home run swing here. I'm going to go for corner Will Johnson from Michigan. I think Will Johnson, when he's at his best, is one of the best players in this class. I think he's a tremendous cover corner. His athleticism, to me, again, when he's at his peak, is elite. And the injury, take the injuries out. And I didn't think they were that drastic of injuries. We're not talking about like ligament damage for reference. Take the lingering injuries out from this past year and even throughout a little bit of the draft process. Give him a little bit of time to heal. I mean, he could be a Pro Bowl caliber corner. So I like Will Johnson a lot, and I think they're getting him for a bit of a steal when he's at his best at pick 11 in this class.
Yeah, I love this pick a lot. I still have Will Johnson pretty high on my big board despite the down year. He's an incredible player, and this would be an awesome pick for San Francisco. Now at pick 12 for the Cowboys, a lot of different ways they could go. I think I'm going to go offensive line for this team, though. Zach Martin retired. I like Kelvin Banks as a fit to this team. He could play guard. I know you did a video on this, or we're talking about this recently, but I think there's a narrative that Kelvin Banks had a down year in 2024. His numbers were still phenomenal for Texas. I think he can play guard, can play tackle. He's an athlete. He's got great length, and he could be a plug-and-play starter for you at multiple different spots on your offensive line. You've got to get better there. I'm going to take Kelvin Banks here at pick 12.
No, I love it. Kelvin Banks is, everybody has their guys in every draft class. Kelvin Banks he's one of my guys. He is such a just good football player. He's only 21 years old. He allowed 1 sack all year. And I've tweeted the clip before, but his sack was on a play where Quinn Ewers dropped back about 12 yards, has negative pocket awareness, and the edge barely, like I'm talking barely clips Quinn Ewers on the way through. Kelvin Banks kind of throws his arms up like, dude, like he knows the sack was on him immediately, even though it wasn't. It was, look, he's a good player. Just don't overthink him. You guard, tackle, you have a starter for a couple years minimum. So I love him a lot. He's my guy, one of my guys in this class. And anywhere from pick 10 on, maybe not the Bears just because of how much they improved the offensive line, but anywhere from pick 11 on, I'm fine with Kelvin Banks going there. Yeah. All right, so with the Dolphins up here, the Dolphins frustrated me so much last year. Even it really didn't matter if Tua was playing or not because this team was not going to win 3 straight road playoff games to go to the Super Bowl. They were very soft. They were a very soft team up front, and to me that has to change. And it's one thing to be like a finesse team the way they are, right? But it's another thing to not basically have any power at all. Teron Armstead has always had questionable concerns. I realize we're going to be taking a tackle coming off of a torn ACL in Josh Simmons, but Josh Simmons' tape to me was even better than Kelvin Banks when healthy. And I just went on it. I just talked about how much I love Kelvin Banks, but Josh Simmons, just be patient. And I mean, if he misses a couple games during the start of his rookie year, Teron Armstead he misses a quarter of the year every year anyway, so it's not something you're not used to. Give him some time, let him, and effectively, as cliche as this is, effectively let him cook and let him do him. Comparison that I thought made a lot of sense for him as a pass protector was Trent Williams in the pass game. Now Trent's a bit more of a mauler in the run game than Josh Simmons because Trent's kind of one of one, and he's a future first ballot Hall of Famer in my opinion. But Josh Simmons he's just a really, really good pass protecting left tackle. And he's not bad in the run game either. He's just not, Trent Williams in the run game. So just get beefier, get stronger, give Tua a chance. And technically that would be his front side tackle, but regardless, just draft a good left tackle and get stronger.
Did you see the clip from his pro day where he was moving out there?
I actually did not. No, I did not.
He looks really good. Super light on his feet. He would be my top tackle if he was still healthy. He was phenomenal early on in the year for Ohio State. So I love that pick for Miami.
I do have a question. Hold on. I do have a question real quick. It's regarding this pick. Is the pick already sprinted in? Because I have a feeling it should be. I'm curious where you stand on this. Is it already sprinted in?
I'm actually not going to go Warren here because I do it so much. I want to do something a little different. Gotcha. I just love the fit of Jihad Campbell with this Colts defense. They lost EJ Speed to Houston like half hour ago. And as much as I like Tyler Warren, I think you can get good value in this tight end class down the board, whether it be a Mason Taylor or an Elijah Arroyo. Jihad Campbell, to me, is one of the best prospects in the class. He can come downhill as a blitzer. He's an incredible athlete. But I also think he is one of the most smart coverage linebackers in the entire draft class. And with the moves that the Colts have made on the defensive side of the ball, I think adding a guy like Jihad Campbell to kind of be the quarterback of that defense could be a huge addition. So I am going to pass on Tyler Warren here. I know a lot of Colts fans are going to be upset about it, but I have Campbell a little bit higher on my board than I do Warren, and I just like his fit. So I'm actually going to go there at 14.
Okay. All right. Now with the Falcons up, it would be pretty funny to go Tyler Warren after like the Kyle Pitts and everything that's ensued with that over the past couple of years. But I'm going to go ahead and just address something that has not been addressed in Atlanta for a while. Let's just make this simple. Good football player. I know there's been discussions of off the field stuff. I am not going to pretend that I know specifics here or that I'm plugged into this exact situation, but I'm going to go James Pierce Jr., really good football player, fills a need. And in that division, whether it's Baker, whether it's maybe Bryce Young, and even outside of the division, if you're ever going to seriously compete, you need to be able to routinely get after the quarterback. James Pierce Jr. does a good job of that. I would have also been fine with Donovan Ezeraku with this selection, but give me James Pierce here, and don't overthink this one. Look at that pass rush win rate right there, 23%. That's like a good probably 15% better than what the Falcons are used to at the edge position. So just take them, don't overthink it, and if you want to get another receiver on day 2, trust me, this class has it. So take James Pierce and go from there.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think Pierce is another guy, just the prospect fatigue is starting to kick in. I think he is definitely a top 15 guy in this draft class. At pick 16 for the Cardinals, this is a tough pick to make because I could see them going offensive line. I could see them going receiver. I could see them going corner, D-line, edge. And I don't think Cardinals fans would be mad at any of it. I think I'm going to go I took Gray Zabel in my last mock I did for them. I'm going to go a different route here, and I'm going to take Matthew Golden for them. Just get some more speed on this wide receiver room. I think he can play in the slot for you. They're going to just add some more speed to this team, get some more playmaking. I know they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm going to just test the waters here, see how Cardinals fans feel. And I'm going to take Matthew Golden because I think he can separate really well. He could be that deep ball threat for you. And I think he can complete that wide receiver trio.
That's interesting. I have not mocked Golden this high. I like the thought process though. I really like what the Cardinals are building. I like the idea of completing the defensive line, if you will. So basically, like the Tyler Warren for the Colts is like if he's there, you pencil him in. I usually just pencil in Kenneth Grant, not usually, but I like to pencil Kenneth Grant into the Cardinals. So you could have Kenneth Grant, Darius Robinson, BJ Ojulari, and Josh Sweat, and kind of have like a mini Eagles 2024, if you will, of Jonathan Gannon's version, who obviously came from Philadelphia a couple of years ago. So I like the mix up there. I do. Now with the Bengals on the clock, I'm going to be honest here. There's a part of me that just because he's on the board, I want to go Tyler Warren so bad, just to have Jamar T. Tyler and just say, you know what, we're going all Madden here. Just stop us. I'm not though. I want to very badly, but they need another edge. I know it's Miles Murphy's make or break year. I fully acknowledge that. But Sam Hubbard retired. Trey Hendrickson's future's up in the air. I'm honestly fine with Mykel Williams or Donovan Ezeraku here, but I'm going to go with Donovan Ezeraku. I think he's a really good, not technician as a pass rusher, but I think he's just a really good player that gets home a lot. He had, was it 16 sacks last year? PFF sacks are a little different, but he had 16 sacks last year. He finished his career with a 14 pressure, 3.5 sack game against Pitt. He's really hardworking player. He's a really good player. And obviously in this conference, if you tell me that, any of the teams with the big four quarterbacks, with the Mahomes, basically the Chiefs, Bills, Ravens, Bengals, any of those teams any year take an edge rusher or a corner in, the top 64 of the draft, either the first two rounds, I'm never going to say, you know what, that's a bad pick. Just take a pass rush. 95% of the time you're going to be there in January. Just take a player that is good, that can have a chance to get home, or a guy that can stop an opposing number one receiver, and just go from there. So Donovan Ezeraku, to me, is a sleeper to win Defensive Rookie of the Year. So if he does win Defensive Rookie of the Year, clip that, come back to it. I love his game. He's one of my guys. I have a couple of guys in this class I really like. Kelvin Banks, Ezeraku, they're both up there, man. I love them both.
Yeah, I love that pick for them. I think you mentioned it was between him and Mykel. I just think he gives you a higher floor than Mykel Williams too, which is they need instant contributors right away. I love this fit. I don't think I've done Ezeraku to Cincinnati, but I really like that move. At 18, a number of ways you can go here, but if Tyler Warren's still on the board, I'm not passing up on him because I think you can upgrade that tight end room. Noah Fant has been okay at times, but Tyler Warren is a completely different animal here. You can use him in so many different ways for your offense. Run blocking, he is a very good one. There's just so much to love about him as a prospect. Great hands, really good athlete, strong at the catch point. I'm just going to upgrade the floor, add another weapon to this team. I'm going to take Tyler Warren at 18.
I like it. And the good thing about that pick there is you are undoubtedly getting, even if you don't like Tyler Warren, at worst, a top 10 player in the class at worst, at pick 18. So love it. Love it. With the Bucks here, you took Jihad Campbell from me a couple selections ago. Would have liked that. I'm not going to lie. But with the Bucks here, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be direct. I've said this before, but I'm not a Jalen Walker guy as an edge rusher, but I am a Jalen Walker guy as an off-ball linebacker. I like him a lot as an off-ball linebacker. That's definitely a contender here. But with the Bucks here, corner it's a little, I don't want to take a corner here. I'd like to, but I'm not. So it's kind of, do we go best edge? Do we go best linebacker? You could tell me Mykel Williams would be fine, although, this is a tough pick here. Nick Scorton would be a really good player here. You know what? I'm gonna go Jalen Walker. I'm gonna go Jalen Walker. You know, yeah, I'm gonna go Jalen Walker. I wanted to think that one through for a minute. I'm gonna go Jalen Walker. I like him in a Todd Bowles defense, and Levante David is certainly getting up there in age. He's kind of like the Harrison Smith of the Bucks. He's been there forever. You know you're going to have to replace him eventually. He signed a 1-year contract, so I think you give him a year to pair next to Levante. You give him a year to develop and also still play in his rookie year. It's not like it's going to be a redshirt year. I think it would be a good fit for the Bucks.
Yeah, I like that move. Walker, I am 100% with you. I don't love him as an edge rusher. I think he's going to need to improve in coverage, but I definitely think in a situation like Tampa, he could really thrive in that Devin White sort of role. So
Right.
I like that move. Number 20 for the Broncos. I think the board has fallen perfectly for Denver. You've got Omarion Hampton here. I think Walter Nolan is very much in play considering the impending free agents they have in 2026. And I think either of those picks between Walter Nolan and Omarion Hampton would be home runs. And I don't think you would be fretting if you lose one of them because it's a deep running back class and a deep defensive interior class. I like Walter Nolan a little bit better than I like Omarion Hampton. I think he is a phenomenal athlete. He's a very good run defender. And I feel like he hasn't quite figured it out fully as a pass rusher. He still had an 11% pass rush win rate this past season, which is really solid. I'm a big fan of Walter Nolan and what he can do. And with Zach Allen being a free agent, John Franklin Myers and Malcolm Roach after this season, I think just getting a young guy to hold in the wings would be a really smart move. Denver has been phenomenal this offseason at filling their holes. I think Walter Nolan is a really good fit for them. So I'm going to take him at 20.
All right. I love the pairing. I like the prospects you broke it down to as well. I also wouldn't mind Luther Burden as another potential option there. But with the Steelers on the clock here, there's a certain quarterback available from Colorado that has not been taken off the board. I think he will be long gone by this time of draft night. I just think somebody will take him in the top 20. But even if the Steelers bring in Aaron Rodgers, that's not a long-term solution. The Steelers are they're just in a really tough situation because you sacrifice multiple first-round picks and a guy like TJ Watt in 1 year to go up into the top 4 or 5 to trade, to go from pick 18 or 20 because they're not going to have a losing season or they're not, they're not going to have that number 4, 5, 6 overall pick. Shedeur Sanders there's a lot of commotion around Shedeur Sanders due to the Colorado, due to Dion, due to everything, right? But he's not a bad prospect. And I like Shedeur Sanders. I would like the pairing here. He can throw there's a lot of tape of Shedeur throwing the deep balls down the sideline, whether it was Travis Hunter, whether there's Jimmy Horn. You get him with George Pickens or DK Metcalf for a year. He is similar to Teddy Bridgewater. I know some people can take that the wrong way, but he's a good quarterback that can get out of trouble. And most importantly, he is going to keep the ball safe. He's not going to turn the ball over a lot. He is a solid quarterback prospect. I think he's around an early to mid second round grade is what I had on him, but obviously quarterbacks go, they go way earlier than that. So Shedeur Sanders being available at pick 21, that's who I'm going with here.
I was wondering if you were going to do that. I was hoping you would, but yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. If he's on the board at 21, I just don't see how Pittsburgh, even if they get Aaron Rodgers, I just don't see how they can pass him up even if he has to sit for a year. I think he's in a really good spot to succeed. At pick 22 for the Chargers, they are another tough team to draft for, but with the way the board has fallen, I'm taking Kenneth Grant, and I'm not thinking twice about it. You lost Poona Ford, who was a pretty big piece for their defensive line this past season. You need that big nose in the middle of the defense that can stuff the run. Kenneth Grant can do that. He's a good pass rusher as well, above average athlete. There's a lot to really love. Obviously, the Michigan ties with Jim Harbaugh. I think he's a perfect fit. Harbaugh wants to build through the trenches, and Kenneth Grant is an awesome piece for that. So I'm going to take him at 22 to the Chargers.
Yeah, I like Kenneth Grant a lot. He's one of the players in this class. I try not to overuse this because it applies to so many guys between that 10 and 25 range where you need to draft somebody for a mock draft, but he's to me, the definition of a good football player, high floor, you know what you're getting. It's a good contributor. And I think Kenneth Grant's the epitome of that. So like the pick. And I also like the way that Harbaugh's, builds his football teams where it's basically like, look, we want to punch you in the mouth and good luck trying to stop us. So, anytime you can be the bigger, stronger team, you're going to win a lot of games doing that. So I like that there. With the Packers, I'm gonna make a pick that they've wanted for years. Let's just give him a first round receiver. Luther Burden is a look. I like Luther Burden a lot. I think he compares very favorably to DJ Moore. I know a lot of people a lot of people get the DJ Moore comp, but he really does compare to DJ Moore, man. I went back and rewatched his tape last night. I actually rewatched a couple of receivers tape last night, and Luther Burden to me is right below Tet McMillan. I'm not worried at all about, oh man, he had 500 less yards than what he did in 2023 to 2024. Watch the tape is what I would say to that. His abilities didn't disappear overnight. And you put him in a Matt LaFleur offense with Jordan Love at quarterback, who I think it's a little much. He gets a little more slander than he should at times, in my personal opinion. But you're getting, in my opinion, a top 15 talent in this class at pick 23. So Luther Burden to the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah, I still have him like right there with Tet McMillan as my wide receiver too. I think Golden will get taken higher at this point, but I think Burden, his tape, like you said, it's still really good. You can use him in so many ways. I really like this pick. And then you're back on the clock here with the Vikings at 24.
Yeah, so in the similar process that we had with the Bucs, Jalen Walker, Levante David, Malachi Starks is right there. He's a really good football player. My selection choices here would be either Malachi Starks, Omarion Hampton, Gray Zabel, but I would go Malachi Starks just because you're getting a player to eventually not necessarily replace Harrison Smith exactly, but you are getting a good player. You have to have the secondary, not just in the NFC North, but the NFC if you're ever going to make a serious run. Harrison is now 36 years old. He hasn't announced it, but it's within the Vikings fan base. It's kind of like, all right, like this is his last year, even though it hasn't been announced. If he came back at 37, that would be something. But it's year 14 for Harrison. Let him take him under his wing. Malachi Starks, good player, and it'd be a pick that I like a lot.
Yeah, I think that one makes a ton of sense for the Vikings at 24. At 25, you're back on the clock. We'll keep the odds going. So you got the pick here at 25.
This to me is either Emeka Egbuka with the Ohio State connection, or it is Gray Zabel. I'm curious, Texans fans, where you guys would stand on this. But CJ has the chemistry with Egbuka. So that's part of me is kind of like, hey, just take that. And you need help at both receiver and offensive line. But when you look at the offensive line that's going to be there in the second round when you're back on the clock, Tyler Booker probably wouldn't be there. And then you're looking at maybe, Jared Wilson, Tate Ratledge. And then even if you want to kick guys inside like Ariante Ursary or Donovan Jackson, whoever, I don't think they're as good as Gray Zabel. So I'm going to go Gray Zabel here. And then my intention with the Texans would be to take a receiver in the second round. That would be the goal there.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that thought process. And their interior was bad last year, to put it nicely, honestly. So getting Gray Zabel just elevates the floor and keeps CJ Stroud protected. So I really like that move. I picked 26. This is becoming a favorite of mine. I've taken Colston Loveland a little bit for them, and I just love the fit of him in the McVay offense. But I think when you look at this Rams team, their cornerback room is not very strong. They don't have a lot of guys, and they've got some free agents after this year. So I'm going to go corner. I am still going to go with Savon Ravel out of East Carolina. I know he probably won't get taken first round, but I just want to show him some shine because when he was healthy, he's a top 15 prospect in this class. Really good athlete, a reliable tackler from the cornerback position, great hips, can play in off coverage, can play in press. It does so many different things for you. And for the Rams, you just need some help at the cornerback room, not just this year, but long-term. I think a year removed from the injury, Revel is going to be a really good player. So I'm going to take him. I haven't taken him in the first in a while, but I do believe he's still a first-round talent. So I'm going to take him at 26.
I like it. I also, as you mentioned, Colston Loveland, I love that pairing with the Rams as well. With the Ravens on the clock, they're in a situation where Odafe Owe is entering a contract year. They also have former second-round pick David Ajabo entering a contract year. They are a really well-run organization, and they do so many things right. And it's because a lot of the time they draft a year ahead, knowing they're probably going to have to replace a guy, or even if they choose to pay somebody like Odafe Owe, they still have a good player to play opposite of him on a rookie contract. So basically, if you were to have Odafe away at, whatever, $20 million per year or whatever number he would get, right? Then you would have an edge rusher at, $5 or $6 million a year. So instead, you would have the two edges at an average of $13 million per year, which is significantly lower than somebody like Myles Garrett getting $40 million per year alone. Now, Myles is, one of one, and that's a whole different conversation, but you get the point that I'm trying to make, right? So with the Ravens up, I'm going to go Micah Williams. I think Micah Williams is a good player. I think he's 6'5", 265. I like him a lot for who he is as a player. I think he's a developmental guy. And I think the Ravens would love to take a guy in the first round that will certainly have splash plays as a rookie, but a guy that, can come in and play under Odafe Oweh and even Ojabo and even Kyle Van Noy just had a really good year for the Ravens. Add another good player to that room who is unlike the others, has a lot of physical traits that a lot of the other guys don't have, and go from there. And then obviously he's a player that will be here and long after this season. He'll be here 2, 3, 4 years down the road.
Yeah, I love that move. At pick 28 here, we got the Detroit Lions. I think they're going to go with an edge rusher like Darius Smith, and they need some help opposite of Aiden Hutchinson. Shamar Stewart's on the board, maybe one of the highest ceilings of any of the edge rushers in the class. You do worry about the floor, but still had a pretty solid season, I would say. Good run defender. I think he's a good player. You want to see him be more consistent at getting pressure, getting sacks, but the upside with him athletically is through the roof. I just don't think this is a player that Detroit would pass on if he's on the board here. So I'm going to take him at pick 28.
It's a good pick. It's a good, that's bottom line. It's a good pick, good player, good landing spot. Can really maximize the guy he can be. And the 1.5 sacks, I think there's going to be a game next year where he's going to have 2 sacks, whether it's for the Lions or whoever. And just the amount of dunking that draft fans are going to do for supporting Shamar Stewart is going to be rightfully justified when that day happens. But the Washington Commanders are on the board. I think this fell really well to them. I'm not the biggest Brian Robinson Jr. I'm the biggest Brian Robinson Jr. fan, and I am a really big Omarion Hampton fan. Jade Daniels, Omarion Hampton, Terry McLaurin, Debo. Not that Debo makes that much of a difference, but Omarion and Terry McLaurin is really good. He's an upgrade to what you currently have. It also, not that you want to take the ball entirely out of Jaden Daniels' hands, because you don't, but there's going to be a conversation to be had about like limiting the hits Jaden Daniels takes at some point. And if you can take those, we're not taking the ball entirely out of his hands, but if you can draft a great running back for the next 3, 4, hopefully 5 years in Omarion Hampton, I would say go for it every time. And especially when the board, the biggest thing here is you always have to look at the value of the board. And I don't think that Tyler Booker is going to move me from drafting Omarion Hampton. No disrespect to Tyler Booker. It's more of a praise to Omarion.
Yeah, I like this move. I hadn't experimented with running back to the Commanders until I did a different one last week, and it makes a lot of sense for them. I really like this fit for them. Pick 30, we got the Buffalo Bills. I like the way the board has fallen. They're going to probably draft an interior defensive lineman, I think. There's some great players on the board. I'm going to go Tyleik Williams for them. I don't do this one very often, but they just need a big run stuffer in the middle, a guy that's got a different type of style than what Ed Oliver brings. And I think Tyleik Williams does that. He's an incredible run stuffer. That's his bread and butter. Great size, 6'3", 334 pounds. He was running a 4.8 or 4.9 before I guess he had a cramp, ended up falling. But this guy can move. He's a really good run stuffer, and I just think they can upgrade the trenches there. So I'm going to take him at pick 30.
Now, you did ask me earlier if I saw the Josh Simmons pro day. I did see Tyleik Williams fall in the 40. I did see that. I did not see the Josh Simmons. But the Chiefs are on the clock here. Now, I'm going to make a selection here that I have not made ever in the 2025 mock draft history, if you will, on my channel and anybody's channel that I've been on. And I'm going to preface this with the Chiefs have picked 63, 66, and 95. They can certainly trade back up if they want to go get a Josh Connerly, Ariante Ursery, whoever they would want to go get. Whether, Donovan Jackson's more of a guard, but whatever player they'd want to trade up and get, they can. They certainly have the MO. I'm going to just draft the Travis Kelce replacement. I'm going to bring in Colston Loveland. He's an elite pass catching prospect, whether it's tight end. He's not going to play out wide at receiver, but he is such a good player. Look at that drop rate, 3.4%. That is unreal. He is adding a quality to the offense that I don't think the Chiefs currently have. To me, Colston Loveland is, I mean, he releases the way that he breaks in and out of his cuts. He releases to me a lot like Travis Kelce does, where he kind of just sinks in and then right at the last second, he kind of just like plants that right foot in when he's cutting back to the left on like a shallow dig. He just comes back in, just body right there. I mean, he places his body like in front of the football to where the defender can't jump over the top. He is a really high IQ player. And that drop rate of 3.4% that's who he is as a player. Is the production right there on the screen. It is. So he had a little bit of a down year, not too much relative to the 2023 season, but his quarterback play from 23 to 24 significantly fell off. There were so many times he was open on tape where you just looked at it, and if he has a even close to an NFL caliber quarterback, let alone Patrick Mahomes, that quarterback's going to hit him every time. So Colston Loveland, great football player. And to me, he's closer to Tyler Warren, and not even close, by the way. Like, he's a lot closer to Tyler Warren than he is tight end 3. Not close either.
Agree. 100% agree. I love that move. Another one. I like the way this board is falling. A lot of new ideas here. I like that pick a ton for Kansas City. And then you got the Eagles at 32. A bunch of ways they could go. You could go edge rusher. Nick Scorton's on the board. You could go safety. I know that Nick Emanwari is still on the board, and I think Emanwari will probably be the pick here. O-line, you could go. You lost. You could go Tyler Booker, perfect Mekhi Becton replacement. But I am going to go with Nick Emanwari. They lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson. I think Emanwari, the athleticism is unreal. You pair him alongside Quinyon Mitchell, and you pair him alongside Cooper DeJean. This young secondary could be one of the most electric and most fun secondaries to watch. It's a need for them, and Emanwari is just an athletic freak. So I'm going to take him to finish off this first round at pick 32.
I like it, and especially put him in a system let Vic Fangio mold him and Vic's going to play him right, because Nick Emanwari is a kind of a scheme-specific player right now, or a role-specific player. And I have no doubts that Vic Fangio would be able to maximize the unique ability that Nick Emanwari has. So love the pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for us, guys. That is our one-round mock draft, no trades. Really like the way this one turned out. Some really fun options here that I haven't explored before, but I will leave Garrett's stuff linked down in the description below. Huge thank you to him for coming on for another season. Leave a like on this video. Subscribe if you are new. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.